a change in their life. Because that's what matters. I mean, that's why, for me, that's why I'm in this business. That's why I want to be a storyteller, because those are the movies that impacted me. And so I was sent this book.
Hi, Ryan is seen on the set of It Ends With Us standing next to Blake Lively. Check this out. The video is dated January 5th, 2024, which, according to the timeline of events, is the day after Justin was allegedly berated by Ryan. He's wearing the same beanie he wore on the set of Deadpool and the same puffer jacket, and this was all filmed in Jersey City. The claim is that Ryan berated Justin in an apartment there and then casually showed up back on set immediately afterward, as if nothing happened. Imagine how Justin must have felt. How is this considered okay? Ryan is hanging around Blake on the set of It Ends With Us, coming off as stalkerish, unable to let something go. Just standing there in the same clothes like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, everything happening right now appears to be engineered toward Mountain. As previously explained, Ryan's production and marketing company, Maximum Effort, was acquired by Mountain, and in interviews he openly talks about how everything is being built toward that outcome. He even suggests Mountain is inevitable, comparing its future dominance to how Google emerged in search and Facebook and social media, implying he believed Mountain would become that next massive industry-defining company. That naturally raises the question of whether this was all about scaling toward billionaire-level success. Ryan has said that while he still oversees other businesses like Mint Mobile, Aviation Gin, and Wrexham, he took a sabbatical from acting specifically to focus on these ventures, especially Mountain and Maximum Effort. At the same time, Maximum Effort was allegedly contracted with Sony to handle marketing for It Ends With Us, which he described as a huge privilege and opportunity to explore creatively. Then there's the Reddit post that's been circulating. Pause on Reddit because it adds more context. Blake Lively, once again, took to her stories, reacting after audio surfaced involving Clara and Steve Sorowitz that many found disturbing. The recording is available elsewhere and sparked backlash, yet Blake suddenly began posting about domestic violence, claiming she has no chill while attempting to educate the public with charts, graphs, and explanations of different types of abuse, including emotional, verbal, financial, and technological abuse, along with so-called gaslighting phrases. Critics point out that she didn't raise these issues at the It Ends With Us premiere, where instead she focused on promoting her alcohol brand, fashion, hair, and jewelry, which many viewed as performative and inauthentic. Some question whether anyone who follows entertainment news truly believes her sudden advocacy, accusing her of deflecting through word salads and attaching herself to unrelated groups like the Hamilton cast to boost visibility in SEO. She praised every cast member as a powerhouse, which critics argue highlights a contrast between her words and her actions. The segment wraps by circling back to Ryan Reynolds, wishing him a happy birthday and revisiting earlier deep dives into how his business strategy, Maximum Effort's acquisition, and his focus on Mountain all connect to the broader narrative being discussed. Everything happening right now feels deliberately engineered toward Mountain. Ryan openly says Mountain is inevitable, and while he admits he normally wouldn't be that bold, he points to what has been built and personally coded no small feat and the trajectory of connected TV, arguing that one company will emerge the way Google did with search or Facebook did with social, and he believes Mountain is that company. That naturally raises the question of whether he hoped Mountain, which acquired his company Maximum Effort, would explode into the next Google-level giant and ultimately make him a billionaire, because by his own admission, everything seems to be moving in that direction. While he claims he's still overseeing Mint Mobile, Aviation, Gin, and Wrexham, he's also taken a sabbatical from acting specifically so he can focus on these ventures in a more business-centered context, with Mountain and Maximum Effort clearly at the center. Maximum Effort, which was allegedly contracted with Sony to take over marketing for It Ends With Us, is something he describes as a huge privilege and luxury to explore. Then there's the Reddit post that keeps resurfacing. Pause and read it because it's honestly hard to make this stuff up. Supposedly, Megan is now enlisting a close friend in Blake Lively to help salvage her career, which sounds ironic considering past controversies like the Gem incident that circulated online. The narrative claims these two are connected through Anna Wintour, with rumors that Harry and Meghan visit Blake and Ryan's New York penthouse, but the real connection appears to run through Blake's manager, Justin Greystone, and his wife Samantha Stone, who heads Soho House memberships. Coincidentally, the place where Meghan and Harry allegedly met. At Samantha's baby shower, both Blake and Meghan were present, though notably there are no photos of them together, raising the question of whether they're actually friends or simply using proximity and shared circles for PR. Adding to the skepticism, Ryan previously mocked Meghan's jam on a podcast, later met King Charles, and then made another jab, which doesn't exactly scream close friendship. Photos from the same baby shower show Meghan there again, yet still no images with Blake, making the headline about their friendship feel exaggerated at best. It seems far more likely they're friendly when useful, strategically aligned rather than genuinely close, more frenemies than friends, much like how other celebrity relationships operate to boost headlines, SEO, and whatever products happen to be launching at the moment. Given how often their styles, brands, and public images have been compared in the past, it all feels like gasoline meeting fire. And honestly, imagining all of them in the same room, or Ryan and Harry sitting down for a conversation, less like authenticity and more like a skit waiting to happen. This is the one that made me gasp when I walked by the door because it was pink, sparkly, and exactly the kind of thing I love, and it perfectly sums up Blake Lively still being the same annoying girl she was in high school. There's even her photo in my yearbook, and honestly, she hasn't changed. Apparently, she's been begging through texts, voicemails, and emails, refusing to give up on friendships, desperately trying to stay connected to the popular crowd, only to be completely ghosted by her former best friend, Taylor Swift. Sources claim Blake has been pleading, saying she never would have spilled private text messages or a decade's worth of secrets, groveling and asking Taylor to take her back as a friend, while Taylor reportedly ignores her calls and messages and instead spends time out with Selena, uninterested in excuses or damage control. It's a messy situation, and it doesn't seem like Taylor wants anything to do with her anymore, especially considering how things spiraled after Blake allegedly overstepped, tried to gain creative control, and involved herself where she shouldn't have, leaving everything in her life seemingly unraveling. Now the legal saga takes another turn as Blake reportedly abandons claims of intentional infliction of emotional distress against Justin Baldoni. While Baldoni's side pushes for access to her mental health records documents she appears unwilling to provide, despite previously claiming severe emotional distress, humiliation, pain, embarrassment, frustration, belittlement, and mental anguish. The court now has to decide whether those records must be turned over, but it's unlikely Brian Friedman will let it slide easily, as the fight over those notes could force Blake to reveal far more than she intended. As the It Ends With Us saga continues, momentum appears to be shifting, with Baldoni's side gaining ground while Blake's position weakens. Layered into all of this are resurfaced clips and stories about secrets, consent, and questionable timing, including comments suggesting someone may have anticipated fallout or legal exposure before things went public. Whether this was foresight, coincidence, or damage control remains unclear, but the entire situation reads like a slow unraveling, full of twists, awkward revelations, and unanswered questions that leave people wondering how much more is still waiting to come out. It's just interesting, and I'm curious what you all think, because the whole moment plays out like a casual, self-aware podcast scene where background artists wander through, wave hello, and add to the natural chaos vibe while the host jokes about paying them to pass by. Then comes a highly requested question about the Reynolds family and how they managed to create all these bespoke, envy-worthy clothes, especially for Rex. And the answer turns out to be surprisingly simple. Take an old jacket you never wear and sew or even safety pin a patch onto it. That immediately brings up memories of the It Ends With Us premiere, where floral patches were stitched onto outfits, and the crowd was encouraged to wear them as a fashion statement, raising eyebrows about whether that was done without proper permission. The conversation drifts into DIY fashion tips like using hotel sewing kits, silk screening backs of jackets, and mixing sporty merch with more fashionable pieces, all while joking about copyright issues, merch teams, and the desire to be the most stylish podcaster in the room. But then the tone shifts, and it's hard not to notice how comfortable and familiar Blake appears with certain people, including how chummy she seems with this man and others Ryan has shared panels with, all of them appearing unusually close. Body language becomes the focus, with Ryan looking visibly uncomfortable, collar unbuttoned, tired, uneasy while leaving places like the Waverly, and Blake herself appearing disheveled, hair pulled into a messy ponytail. That discomfort contrasts sharply with past comments from Taylor Swift, who downplayed her association by saying she just got a vibe, which raises the question of what that vibe really was in these moments. The dynamic feels awkward, loaded, and telling, especially when Blake seems to edge into photos and conversations, giving off a strong sense of FOMO as casual coffee chats turn into something that feels far more complicated than it appears on the surface. They're shown chatting about the soundtrack again, and it's hard not to notice who's watching the interaction: someone who looks like Gigi Hadid, possibly Oprahing nearby, and another woman giving what feels like a clear stink eye, which makes the moment even more uncomfortable to read. Blake has stated that nothing happened to her in terms of assault or harassment involving this man, yet in these images she appears uneasy, while he sometimes looks annoyed, which lines up with Blind suggesting he eventually grew frustrated with her constant talking and oversharing. Some moments seem fine, but others feel awkward, reinforcing the idea that she tends to blab without reading the room. Adding to the context is the reminder that Leslie Sloan served as PR for both Harvey Weinstein and Blake Lively, along with past controversies like taking a selfie with Mario Batali after his allegations, all of which makes people scrutinize body language even more closely. Then, the interview clip shifts to Blake openly describing how she and her team pushed to show the entire movie despite the studio insisting on only showing 28 minutes because the film wasn't finished, with her dismissively saying they didn't care and proceeding anyway. What stands out is that she talks at length about taking control of the screening, bringing an early cut of the movie on a hard drive, and surprising audiences with an exclusive viewing, yet barely mentions Justin Baldoni at all. Skimming past him in just a couple of words, she emphasizes how important it was for the book's fans to see the film first, frames the chaotic logistics as an honor, and repeatedly centers herself in the narrative, even joking about bringing the movie on a plane and pivoting to talking about her outfit specifically, a pair of flower-covered jeans she plans to wear, proudly noting they're not sponsored and claiming they inspired others because she's so loved. Altogether, the contrast between the awkward body language, the control over the film's rollout, and the self-focused commentary leaves a lot of viewers questioning what was really happening behind the scenes and what these interactions are truly signaling. She kept telling everyone how Alice was her favorite, setting the tone for what people were walking into, which explains why the conversation kept circling back to fashion and those flower jeans. She excitedly asked whether Alice brought her flower jeans, gushing over how cute they were and joking that they were about to become jean influencers, deciding that if people saw their outfits, they'd want the same look. That's when she impulsively ordered flower patches off Amazon, brushing off the idea of formal coordination and having them sent straight to Colleen's hotel room, admitting she hadn't even seen them yet and that they might be ugly, but insisting it would be fine. She encouraged everyone to put the patches on their jeans, casually mentioning that Brandon already had some for his Wranglers and joking about wanting to iron them onto his vintage jeans, even though she wasn't sure he'd allow it. The whole thing turned into a playful sisterhood of the traveling flower pants moment, complete with excitement, jokes, and a group selfie with the crew before leaving. Then the tone sharply shifts to a Beauty and the Beast comparison, with commentary suggesting that despite being married, it would be hard not to notice the contrast between a charming, million-dollar smile and someone described far less flatteringly. Questioning whether she truly felt nothing and whether jealousy played a role, the argument is that she was around him every day on set, that her behavior didn't match her claims of indifference, and that the dynamic looked like intimidation and unresolved feelings rather than neutrality. The suggestion is that something emotional was going on, that it was obvious without needing to overanalyze it, and that once those feelings were noticed, everything escalated, leaving people speculating, connecting dots, and wondering whether outside commentators might actually be onto something.